But I am afraid that just as Eve was deceived by the serpent's cunning, your minds may somehow be led astray from your sincere and pure devotion to Christ. Paul was terrified. He was not just a bit concerned, but he was afraid of something. Afraid of what? Afraid that just as the devil deceived Eve, he would also succeed at leading astray the people of God. You know, oftentimes we use the word afraid too loosely. You know, I'm afraid I can't come over. Really? You really afraid you can't come over? You know, I'm afraid, the meal didn't turn out right. Are you really afraid? No. We use the word afraid in a nonchalant manner. Paul, when he says I'm afraid, he's not using an American colloquial idea. He is actually terrified. His heart is beating faster. His palms are sweaty. He's perspiring. He is thinking about all the work he's put into the Corinthian church to have it ruined. Ruined by what? By the serpent. And make no mistake about it, the serpent is a pseudonym for the devil himself. And he's saying the devil is about to hoodwink God's saints. Now, through this series, based on my book, one thing stands out clear. The devil is quite clever. Now, I did not say he's a good guy. I didn't say he's morally right. But I did say he's clever. And he's so clever, he was able to get the first woman who lived in a perfect environment to actually sin against God. And this is what Paul is saying, is I'm afraid that's going to happen to you too. You know, a lot of times, when we think of saints that have fallen, we think perhaps of a pastor who fell into immorality, or a deacon who went to drugs or alcohol, or a saint who went into bitterness and anger. We look at these people and we think, I wonder why they did that. And we have a tendency to think that their problem was they weren't really sincere with Christ. So we often use the word a hypocrite. You know, someone who's a hypocrite, he's not sincere. He's a phony believer, right? So we think these people are phony. So we look at priests who become pedophiles. Well, they're phony priests. They really weren't sincere. They really didn't want to serve God. That's not always the case. You look at a pastor of a mega church who falls into immorality. Well, he wasn't sincere. He was just doing it for popularity. No. See, we all have a tendency to think that people who fall is because they weren't really sincere believers. Paul has a different idea, though. Notice again the passage. But I'm afraid that just as Eve was deceived by the serpent's cunning, your minds may somehow be led astray from your lukewarm, uncommitted, carnal mind. No. What kind of attitude? From your sincere and pure devotion to Christ. Did the church have were they sincere? Were their devotion pure? It was uncontaminated. They were truly committed to Christ. Yet, they were susceptible for falling. The Amplified Version says it this way. It says, the scriptures will be right on the screen, right? But now I am fearful lest that even as the serpent beguiled Eve by his cunning, so your minds may be corrupted and seduced. And what does it say? From your wholehearted and sincere and pure devotion to Christ. Did the Corinthian church have a wholehearted commitment to Christ? Yes. Were they sincere? Was it pure? Yes. But could they still be led astray? See, we get the idea that no one who is pure, who's committed, who is sincere, could ever sin and fall away from God. That is untrue. Even the most committed and loyal saints can also fall and get led astray by the serpent's deception and his cunning. Now consider Eve for a moment. Do you suppose there was anything in her personality that was wicked? No, was she not truly committed? And did she have a pure innocence about her? And did she not love God and want to obey God? I mean, is there something wrong about Eve for her to sin? Did God make her with some failures and some, did she grow up in a harsh home? Was she sexually molested when she was a little kid? You know what I mean? Did she have a domineering father? She had no bad experiences. In fact, has she ever seen sin? She doesn't even know what sin is like. She's never seen anyone sin. She had never sinned. And she's not living in a wicked world. She's living in a paradise called the Garden of Eden. Nothing evil in this place. And yet Eve was deceived. She was deceived in a perfect environment and was herself a perfect individual, a pure, godly person, yet she could fall. That's what Paul is saying. He's saying, do you understand? I believe, church, that you have a commitment to Christ, that you have a pure devotion to Him. I believe all of that, just as Eve had those things too. But make no mistake about it, she disobeyed God. But it wasn't something within her that wanted to disobey God. It was a tempter who came in to confuse her. And that's the way it is with the devil. He has a way to tempt us so that we actually think we are doing the right thing when we're doing the wrong thing. Or we feel powerless to do the right thing.